recorded. So, to the best of your knowledge, what is the coronavirus?
The coronavirus is a novel virus that affects the respiratory system, and it's primarily contracted through air droplets. And once you do contract it, then it causes all sorts of symptoms: body aches, fever, chills, and symptoms that can be deadly.
I'm 34 years old and I work as a meat department manager at Sam's Club. When this whole pandemic started and they mentioned how it affects those with conditions like mine more severely, it did scare me. The thought of death scares me. I feel like it would scare anyone though. Anyone who says they're not afraid of death has never been close to it. Knowing that, and that I work an essential job where I interact with hundreds of people a day, does scare me from time to time. But the will to move forward and my faith is stronger.
Well, in a way, like in March, I loved it. The world was falling apart and everything, and I was just like, as long as we're at the house, we're okay, we're safe. Of course, I also loved that extra time with the boys. At the time, we were just finishing off the semester and we were just trying to accommodate for everyone, trying to make it easier for the kids and make it easier for ourselves.
My earliest memories of my grandmother were accompanying her to work downtown far while my parents worked. I wasn't quite old enough to go to school just yet, so Grandma Bebe cared for me, watching her seal envelope after envelope and handing me a stick of Trident gum every time I'd get angsty, walking me down Cage Boulevard and telling me stories. I'll always remember the feeling of her hand covering my eyes as to not give me ojo. She never missed a moment to tell me how much she adored my eyes. Come here, mi rey. You see, I was plenty of people's mijito and chulo, or even cabezón or chiflado, but only my grandmother ever called me mi rey.
Oh, what do? Well, I am a self-employed independent income planner. I lead a team of 5 agents in Westlaco, and our aim is to educate and advise our clients on financial gaps and help them prepare early for their retirement. As an agency, we had to cancel all business when this all started in March. It affected our pay, of course, and eventually the way we do business altogether now. We're preparing for the future and the well-being of not just our clients, but their children. This pandemic has been emotional for a lot of our families. We have 4 families who have lost a loved one. I personally have 2 clients who have passed away. They were existing clients that I had for years. COVID took their lives.
Para nosotros, para mi familia, todo empezó a mediados de agosto. Mi madre, mi jefecita, ella se cayó, se rompió el hombro. Y mis hermanos me dijeron que no la llevara al hospital, que nos esperemos mejor para llevarla a una clínica ya al siguiente día, porque pues estaba esto de la pandemia, todo el COVID, y pues sinceramente para mí hubiera sido mejor ir al hospital de antemano. Pues la llevamos a la clínica, de ahí le pidieron rayos X, de los rayos X tuvimos que ir con un cirujano porque ocupaba cirugía. Pero antes que eso tenía que tomarse el examen del COVID. Y pues los resultados tomaron 1 semana y media en venir. Y un miércoles mi papá me marca, me dice, tu mamá no va a tener cirugía después de todo porque tiene COVID. Y yo estoy, pues ya qué, entonces. Y la verdad no me preocupaba que se enfermara porque pensé que lo iba a superar, ella es fuerte. Tú sabes, tu mamá, tu papá, ellos son fuertes. Y nada, pues nada les puede pasar porque pues son tus héroes. Nada.
Let me start off by saying I've never lived my life in fear because of my heart. At times, I'm a little reckless in a sense because I honestly try not to think I have a heart condition, or I put it in the back of my mind most days. It's only at the end of the day when I take off my shirt and my scar reminds me of my limitations. I've always tried to be just as normal as someone without a heart condition. It's never been a conversation starter for me. Most people who work with me, or even some of my friends, don't know I even have a bad heart. I actually take pride in that. However, I do have moments where I'm reminded I have limitations. I can't join the military, get a Class A license. I was never allowed to play sports for my school. It's only in those moments where I feel like I was given a set of Legos, like everyone else, but not given all the pieces to complete it. It's bummed me out, but I get over it. Life goes on either way.
I've taught high school for, oh my goodness, 6, 7 years. Not consecutive though. I took some time off to be a stay-at-home mom, and I am a very involved mother, but probably too involved, you know? But my boys are my world, and I took on that first role of being a teacher for them. Then this last year, I finally went back to work, and then everything happened in March, and it's been really, really stressful. I never realized in March that we would still be in this situation. I don't think anybody actually predicted that our lives would be altered so much by this. And I've mentioned this to a couple administrators already. We'll be in group meetings and they'll say type in the chat, like, how are you doing? But I don't know how to tell them that if I actually looked back and thought about how we're doing, I'd fall apart.
Grandma was my scapegoat during my elementary years. I figured out she was on my contact list for my school nurse. I knew the only way to get in contact with her was to fake a stomachache because a fever could get checked. I'd call, and 20 minutes later the intercom popped on that I was going home. Lo and behold, my grandma was waiting in the front office asking if I was okay. When I'd get in the car and I'd finally escaped school for the day, I'd ask my grandma to buy me a Happy Meal for lunch. She then asked, "Well, aren't you sick, mi rey?" I'd reply with, "Yeah, but maybe I'm just hungry." She then give her classic key laugh and buy me the damn Happy Meal. When I'd arrived to my grandma's house, and my cousin Danny was living with her at the time, he'd see me walk in with a Happy Meal in hand, and he'd then say, "Hey, why aren't you in school?" I'd I'd reply with, I'm sick, of course. Of course, I was then called out on my inconsistent performance. He'd comment, well, hell, I'm sick too, Grandma. Where's my Happy Meal? My grandma would then give him a stone cold look and say, déjalo, he doesn't feel very good. Cracking a half smile, knowing my theatrical plots. I'd then proceed to watch Danny play Metal Gear Solid for the rest of the day.
When someone passes away and they have investment accounts with us, the state of Texas will then notify all banks and any financial industries that they have passed away. In my 2 cases with my 2 clients, I was not made aware of their death by a family member or even the news. I was made aware of their death by an email from my company. It's never easy to sit with family and having to explain what their parents' wishes were for them in regard to their inherited finances.
Claro, no, yo estaba mucho más preocupado por mi esposa porque ella estaba, santo Dios, metiste el chamuco de COVID en la casa y deja que estén acá tu hija y su esposo, está el bebé, tu nieto. Entonces, pues me tuve que hacer la prueba, gracias a Dios salí negativo, pero antes de eso estaban como si tuviera lepra, hazte para allá, no, estás contagiado y qué sé yo, bola de ridículas. Pero mi hijo, mi querido hijo, él me apoyaba, me decía, papá, va a estar bien, la vas a lograr, todo va a salir bien. Entonces, pues, de una vez, mi hijo, te vas a hacer el testamento, ya tienes tu casa arreglada. Pues bueno, eso fue el miércoles. El viernes, mi hermano me habla y me dice, papá está enfermo, no la está pasando bien y tendré que llevarlo al hospital.
I've been working retail for 15 years, and I've really seen a change in people since March. For a while, it felt like a holiday season, like it was Christmas in March. And I've seen people do crazy things during the holidays, but this pandemic really put things on another level. The toilet paper situation, for example. To see a grown adult climb, the bars and stuff, all the shelving, to get to the very top thinking that they were going to get the toilet paper that we were supposedly hiding or something. Yeah, the toilet paper situation. I was at the back of the office doing some paperwork on the computer, and some random lady just barges into the office, and it freaks me out. I was like, whoa, what are you doing back here? And she was like, is this where the toilet paper is? No, there is no toilet paper back here. And how did you get in here?
I feel like I'm failing at all roles right now, and that's the honest truth. I feel like I'm not doing what I want to do as a mother, and I feel like I'm not able to do what I want as a teacher. And my poor husband, he's getting the short end of the stick. And he understands, but I'm not a good wife right now because we're just so focused on surviving. It's been about accommodating for everybody and also keeping our sanity at the same time. I feel like I'm not able to do as much as I can as a teacher, and I don't know my students as well as I want to know them, and I worry about them because I don't know what's going on with them at home or what they're facing right now.
My parents would go on vacation, as they deserved, raising 4 big old boys. My grandma and grandpa would babysit us as they enjoyed their time away. I remember my grandma making a big pot of fideo and beans for us, And when it was ready, we'd all lined up as she served us. My cousins Danny, Elisa, and Amy would even stop by for a bowl or two. After a while, our bowls were empty and our tummies were full. Lemon wedges were spread across the table like grenade shrapnel. And we were full. Did you like it, hijitos? No, we would snicker, knowing we killed at least 3 bulls each. It was okay. She would then grace us with her signature hee laugh.
The fears of COVID are very real, and I think for a lot of people, it still feels foreign until it hits them head on. It hit me head on. In July, our senior partner, the owner of our agency, he was still going 100 miles an hour going to see clients in Houston and Corpus Christi. And I knew he had underlying health conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. Just 2 days after I was conducting interviews with him, I got a call saying that he was in the hospital. The very next day, I was told he passed away. It was in that moment that our entire agency was in complete shock and disbelief. We never thought anything like this could happen to him despite his illnesses. We always considered him this man of steel, untouchable.
Papá fue internado en el hospital donde mi cuñada trabaja, lo cual fue bueno porque así ella podría echarle el ojo de vez en cuando. Mi hermano me volvió a marcar, me dijo pues que visitara a mi madre, que tampoco se ve bien, pero ella quería que la visitara. Yo estaba, cuando me marcaron, yo estaba en la cochera con mi hermana platicando y la verdad no se veía nada bien, se veía toda enferma y todo. Y todavía me atreví a preguntarle, ¿te sientes bien? Y ella pues me dijo que le dolía el respirar, pero que podía ser su asma, ella era asmática. Entonces el sábado me marcan que mi hermana fue internada en el hospital y luego me entero de que tiene COVID. Ya serían 3 personas, mi papá, mi hermana y mi mamá, que tienen COVID en mi casa de mi familia.
There was a fight in the parking lot and cops had to get involved. That's one thing too I'm grateful for, is that when this whole thing started, my company got proactive about making sure there was a police officer or some type of law enforcement at the club at all times. It made us feel safe, especially putting out stuff like the eggs, the toilet paper, the Clorox, and stuff like that, stuff that's still in high demand to this day. We have law enforcement monitoring people so it doesn't get too crazy, and I'm just thankful for that.
It's a circus. It really is. 2 or 3 jobs if you really think about it. Trying to figure out my husband's schedule, my schedule, the boys' schedule. There are not enough hours in the day. Our work easily goes into the weekends. And my husband and I, we're like tag teaming it. The first week of all synchronous instruction, I remember I burst into tears because I felt so overwhelmed at that time already that I didn't think it could get any worse.
My grandma was my brother's ride in high school, while my dad drove my little brother and I to elementary. Every morning, my grandma's car honk was our alarm, because we'd sleep in as much as we could the night before, my dad included. She'd storm into the house, laying into my dad for not having us ready, rushing my brother to get into the car. That car honk at 7 a.m. There was nothing scary. But man, do I laugh at that now. Hector Javier, ¿por qué no te levantas? As 4 boys are running around in their chones.
As an agency, all of us together as a team, I think we learned a lot from these experiences. One of those things being, money is here today and it's gone tomorrow. The loss of our senior partner, our leader, not a day goes by where we don't remember him. He's very much missed, and myself and 14 other agents all have good lives because of what he taught us and so unselfishly gave us of himself, his knowledge and his wisdom.
Lo mismo de su asma, decidieron poner a mi hermana en un ventilador y cuando mi mamá empezó a empeorar, pues lo mismo al ventilador. Y pues yo estaba pues todo nervioso. Ustedes conocen la reputación de esas cosas. Y todavía le reclamé a los del hospital, ¿tan seguro que es lo mejor? ¿No puede haber otra cosa? ¿Alguna alternativa? Mi hermana pues tuvo que calmarme, me dijo, escucha, si puede que no la cuenten, así tienen al menos una oportunidad. Y pues ya que tuve que aceptar. Nos dejaron hacer una videollamada por Zoom, que la neta sí estuvo muy triste porque ahí veías a las enfermeras con los tubos, los cables y pues te daba mucha cosa, pues es tu madre, imagínate. Y todavía le preguntaba a mi mamá, mamá, ¿puedes escucharnos? Y ella pues levantaba sus manos y ella, mi madre pues ella tenía artritis, perdóneme, un tantito. Bueno, en la videollamada, quería que todos tuvieran un rato para hablar con ella, que le dijeran lo que querían decirle, porque ¿qué pasa si ahí acababa todo? La verdad sí fue una bendición muy bonita. Poder decir lo que querías decirles, porque mucha gente pues no tiene la oportunidad. Hay gente que se mata, que tiene accidentes, que es asesinada. Y pues ahora sí tuvimos la oportunidad de decir lo que queríamos decir y fue una gran bendición. Tuvimos que escoger nuestras palabras muy sabiamente.
They're calling retail workers heroes, but I honestly don't feel like one. The heroes are the doctors and nurses working in those extreme hotspots. Knowing that you're going to come into contact with people who have it and possibly contract it or give it to a family member at home. I have a friend who's a firefighter for FAR. Healthy, in shape, and young guy. He got it a few weeks ago and told me he had to be put on a ventilator. You just never know. Again, I just keep the faith and continue to move forward. I've never lived my life in fear because of my heart. Every release from an ICU or some type of extended stay at a hospital has only reaffirmed my belief that he has a plan for me.
COVID has impacted my family personally. My grandfather died because of COVID. He spent over a month in the hospital, completely intubated, as his organs slowly started to fail. So I've experienced this personally and seen it for myself. It was actually, we were all waiting for phone calls from the hospital on updates on how he was doing, and one day we got a call, my grandmother, my aunt, got a call saying that they didn't think he was going to make it through the night. So they led us into the hospital for an hour, and they actually got to see him. And my mom says it was like he was waiting for us. She says that once they had the moment, he passed. It was beautiful because they were all saying the rosary, and he passed right as they were about to finish. And that was my mom's biggest fear. She was afraid that he was going to die alone.
I have a lifetime of memories. These in particular make me laugh and cry. My grandma passed away July of 2020. While it was during the surge of COVID-19, the disease did not take her life. It did, however, take our final moments and memories with her. The last time seeing my grandmother, we weren't allowed to touch her or get too close. We were to see and speak to her from a distance with medical masks on. I couldn't hold her hand or give her the tight hug that she always expected. Her final memories of me and my family were from the nose up. We reminisce on old times. Laughs are a must and tears are unavoidable. Disease did not take my grandmother away. It did, however, take the goodbye we never properly gave her.
I think for us and for a lot of people, I don't only say this as a business person, but as a mother, a grandmother, a friend, as a sister. You know, we can't take life for granted. Our lives are so different now. Before we leave the house, going through the mental checks of, do we have all of our protective gear, hand sanitizer, masks, gloves? The anxiety of this new way of life is with us every day. When is this all gonna end? When are we gonna get some kind of normality?
Los del hospital me dijeron que si quería podía entrar a verla frente a frente, que puede que no le quede mucho tiempo. Y dije, ok, voy a entrar. Y verla así de esa manera fue probablemente lo más difícil que haya hecho en mi vida. Me le confesé, le agradecí todo lo que había hecho por mí y mis hermanos. Le dije, solo lamento que no pueda ayudarte, no que vayas a fallecer del todo, sino de que estoy aquí como un inútil, que no puedo hacer nada por ti. No quiero que sufras, no quiero que estés así, eres una gran mamá y quisiera ser el padre que tú fuiste para mí algún día. Recé. De plano no recé ahí junto a ella, recé por Dios que se haga su voluntad, que si quiere se la lleve, que si no yo, y si no que no, pero por favor que no la haga sufrir, que no la haga sufrir. Estaba fría sus manitas, sus patas, todo estaba fría mi mamá, ya no andaba al 100, ya andaba, ya no le faltaba mucho. Me despedí de ella, pero aún esperaba un milagro, porque nunca hay que perder la esperanza, es el último que muere, como ustedes saben.
It's going to happen anywhere. Sam's, HEB, Walmart, Target. I've heard stories about spreads at all these places. Personally, my direct supervisor tested positive. And I'm like, wow, I work directly with you. I've been in small rooms with you. And the panic starts to set in. I went and got tested, and even that is such an experience too, because I had to do it in my car. I went to the emergency room like I was told to, but it was really like the emergency center parking lot. And I was there for 12 hours because there was cars in front of me that had whole families, and each test took 30 minutes to do. So I got there at 2:30 in the afternoon. I didn't leave until 2:30 in the morning. Thankfully, I was negative.
It's so infuriating to hear people say that it's not that dangerous and it isn't a problem, and that we shouldn't fear it, because my grandfather, I saw him, he was almost unrecognizable, tubes everywhere, and you hear that and you get upset because it is something that we should fear, it is something that we should be afraid of. We were very lucky that we got to say goodbye And it's sad to think of that as a blessing.
Funerals are a hotspot for the virus. As the family was informed, we were to keep it to immediate family only. Grandma Bebe deserved goodbyes from everybody that she touched throughout her beautiful life, yet was only limited to her immediate family only, distanced 6 feet apart. We couldn't hold one another, we couldn't hug each other, we couldn't wipe the tears off her great-grandchildren's faces. We couldn't mourn.
I have 2 grandbabies, and seeing how aware they are of all of this just breaks my heart. They're so smart and observant, and they know how serious this is. I just find it endearing when I'm taking them somewhere and they start looking for their masks in the car, you know? I come to visit them, and I find myself bringing another mask that Grandma bought them. I can't say how many masks I've gotten my little babies. I'm just wanting to make sure that they're protected from this more than anything else. My only thoughts are of protecting them from this.
Mi mujer y yo fuimos al SAMS ya unos días después. Alrededor de las 10 de la mañana me entero que mi mamá ya se nos había adelantado. Y lo primero que hice fue agradecerle al Señor que fue su voluntad y que nosotros no tuvimos que tomar esa decisión. Y que como se había ido en la madrugada mientras dormía, pues se fue en paz y qué mejor. Para mi sorpresa, ella ya tenía todo escogido, desde su cajón hasta la ropa que iba a usar. Mi hermano fue por la caja y yo por sus ropitas. Estaban debajo de unas sábanas en su closet y para mi sorpresa ya tenía todo preparado desde el 2011. Y también tenía una tarjeta que decía, por favor, específicamente decía, por favor, pónganme esto si me les llego a adelantar.
Only God knows his plans for everyone. I've been very blessed to avoid getting it all year. I'm very careful too. I wash my hands frequently, stand apart from people, and constantly sanitize everything multiple people use. I have faith, but I'm not invincible. I just can't wait for everything to go back to normal. I look back on a lot of things that I miss, and it's sad that those things have become memories. But there is just so much to look forward to. First thing I'm gonna do is get a ticket to the happiest place on earth. I'm going to Disneyland, and I'm going to hug Mickey Mouse in the weirdest fashion. I mean, I've hugged him before, but this is gonna be an intense kind of hug.
We can't fall apart. We have to hold on to hope that the numbers start getting better in our area. We have to hold on to hope that it's going to go back to normal at some point. But I also wonder, are we ever going to be normal after this?
COVID-19 did not take my grandmother. Did, however, take our family's final moments with her that we can never have back. Please, wear a mask, wash your hands, practice safe distancing, and tell your family that you love them every day.
Mi madre tuvo una muy bonita ceremonia. A ella le hubiera gustado, pero nada más el clima no cooperó. Llovía mucho, hubo lodo por donde sea y estuvo del asco. Y le dije al padre que lo único que ocupaba ahora para sentirme mejor era un arcoíris. Díganme cursi, pero es la verdad. Y más que nada por el hecho de que la última canción que le toqué junto con mi hijo fue la de Somewhere Over the Rainbow, de aquel hawaiano gordo. Entonces cuando el padre me marcó por teléfono y ya unas horas después, y me dijo, mírale este, y se veía un hermoso arcoíris claro como el agua. Era casi como si me hubiera hablado, como si me hubiera escuchado ella. No esté molesto con Dios, es que pues aún me duele. Y con las tradiciones pues tampoco estoy, con sus tradiciones pues tampoco estoy molesto. Me gusta la Navidad, el Día del Pavo, pero sí lastima saber que va a haber una silla vacía en las próximas. Extraño a mi madre. No hay día en que no lo haga.